Oh.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We've got head coach Justin Fuente here. Coach, whenever you're ready.
All right, we just finished up practice 11. Got some really good work. Third down, red zone, 2 minute, a little first down work as well. Guys had a good day today. I thought today would be the tough day to get through, to be honest with you. Practice 11. The end is in sight, but it's not right in front of you. And really challenged them to go have a great workout today, and they responded. I'm pretty pleased. We'll scrimmage Saturday. We'll try and hit a little bit of everything. To be honest with you, we'll probably work, or we will work some goal line, some coming off the goal line, open field. Some 2 minute and some 4 minute situations. And then we'll kind of take stock of where we're at and see what we need to emphasize for the last week. So, questions?
Raise your hands, guys, and we'll get to as many as we can here. All right, Mike Barber, start off.
Morning, Coach. Can you tell us just kind of what you've seen in terms of your defensive line, the frontline guys, but also what kind of competition you've got there?
Yeah, I mean, we've got 3 young ends that are still trying to kind of figure things out. They've got some skill. They've improved their body makeup. They still have work to do in terms of playing football with proper technique and assignment. The older guys have been solid. Barno is the one that probably hasn't played in as much as Taiwan and Jalen Griffin and some of those others. So he's continuing to improve. Like we can't lose sight just because he's an older player. The fact that he hasn't been at end that long. So he continues to work and get better. On the inside, Mario and Norrell had great off seasons. Jordan Williams has been really good for us, doing a really good job. Fuga continues to improve, and we've got Deshaun who's getting healthy, kind of getting in shape and healthy, and doing a good job in there. So we've got competition. We've got guys pushing for more playing time. That's the one spot that last year we did play multiple people. I think that's the neat part in that room is those guys know they're going to play. And so I think that helps their preparation and their knowledge that they're going to get thrown in there.
Specifically looking at Mario, you mentioned a big off season. Anything that you guys challenged him to do or wanted to see from him, or did that just come from him? What was his drive in the off season?
Well, he's got to become an older player now. The youthfulness. We got to get in better shape. We got to be able to play harder, longer, and that comes to accumulation of your workload. We do challenge our kids in the off season, and he certainly responded with a good off season, and he's carrying it into the spring.
Thank you.
Andy?
Yeah, Justin, we're talking to Drake here in a little bit. I'm curious, what are you seeing out of him? I know he's somebody that's been here quite a few years and has been passed by a couple guys on the depth chart, but he is kind of stuck around for a while.
I'm so proud of Drake. I'm proud because he's had an interesting journey. His first year here, we were trying to get him on the field. He hurt his hamstring and he came back and then hurt it again, and basically just kind of wiped his whole first year out. And then, some other guys came along, and he was in the middle of some competition, but he's just continued to stay the course as becoming a leader for us. Is a well-respected guy. He's picking it up. It's taken time. He's one of those guys that just, he has to be diligent in terms of, understanding what we're asking those guys to do, because it is difficult. We ask those guys to do a lot, and he's just a great example, in my opinion, of a guy that stuck it out and continued to work hard, and now is reaping the benefits. Played a good role for us last year. Is going to play a big role for us again this year. Is got a big body. He's getting some strength in there to be an inline blocker and really help this team.
With Mitchell and Gallo there, how do you split up roles in that tight end room to give them enough to do? Is there room for all three of those guys to play?
Certainly. I mean, we play with two of them on the field at a time quite a bit. So, James and Nick split some time, split out at wide out, and which lets you keep Drake in there in the box, so to speak. So, we need depth at that position. It's really important. It's as important a position as we have on the offensive side of the ball, and having quality depth is imperative, because we want to put those guys on the field. They're so versatile and can do so many things, and can really benefit the team, that it's easy to play 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of them.
Thank you.
Mike Niziolek?
Yeah, you had your first scrimmage last Saturday. How did that go, and anything kind of in particular stand out from that practice?
The biggest takeaway, it went fine. The biggest takeaway was that there's too big a difference between our 1s and our 2s, both knowledge, execution. We have got to move those two groups closer together for us to have a chance to have success. I mean, there's maybe 1 or 2 positions that the 2s are close to the 1s, but it's imperative on our team and our coaching staff that for us to have a chance to have the depth that we need, that we've got to make dramatic improvement with the second huddles on both sides of the ball.
Do you think that's the function of not having the practice time the last year, basically? I mean, that's kind of where it culminates?
Certainly. I mean, that's part of it. There's a lot of reps that some of these younger players haven't gotten, and whether that's from last spring or last fall camp. So, and then we have, I don't know the exact number. I think like 10 true freshmen out there running around trying to figure out where to go. So, but even with that, we've got some inexperienced guys that aren't true freshmen that need to take advantage of the rest of this spring, and we as coaches have to do a great job bringing those guys along to give us a chance.
One of the functions of not having as much depth with scholarship players on offensive line was you had a couple of walk-ons when we saw practice at the second team, Will Jones and Nikolai. How important are their roles this spring, getting those reps with the second team? And Will Jones, I guess, was a preferred walk-on. You haven't mentioned him. You haven't talked about him, but, what does he bring in that class, to help at tackle?
Yeah, Will's been great. I mean, I think, he's getting probably more reps than he ever dreamed of right now, that we dreamed of. As soon as he stepped out of the car, he's in there taking reps. So I think he's got a bright future. I talked to him today, actually, and just told him, if you stay with this, then you're going to have a chance. And it's a long road, and it may not come as quick as you want, but if you stick to it and you take this seriously, you're going to have a chance, to be a contributor. Booge has been great for us in terms of his knowledge base and his ability to help us play, and he continues to get better. I mean, it's just a guy that's worked hard. I got the pleasure I had Booge with the scout team last year, and he did an awesome job there, and he stepped right in and done a great job thus far this spring.
How'd you land Will? I mean, he had some scholarship offers and decided to come to you guys. I mean, how did that kind of unfold?
Oh, I mean, he's a exceptional student. Academics it was and is very important to him and his family. I think they wanted to. I think I'm reading a little bit into this. I hope I'm not speaking for Will too much, but he wanted to stay, or his family wanted him to be relatively close to home, and he had opportunities to go to a bunch of different places at a bunch of different levels of academics and football, and I think this was the perfect balance of academics and football for Will.
Thanks.
David Teal.
Justin, not only his skill set, but when someone like Jordan Williams shows up with a national championship ring and 3 ACC championships, what kind of gravitas does he bring to a locker room?
Well, you always wonder about that, about how's he going to obviously there's a part of him that has been a part of really good teams. But also you worry about, wait a minute, what's this really going to look like? Is this going to be, I want to do it my own way, or we don't do it like that, or whatever. And there has not been an ounce of that. I mean, he's just jumped right in and fit in with the players. Obviously on the field is just part of it. He's fit in with the guys. He's a pleasure to be around, and certainly he carries some weight because he's been a part of good teams. He's seen really talented, good football teams, and been a part of those, and wants to do a great job contributing to this one.
At 3'10", what kind of literal presence does he pose there in the middle?
Well, he's when you're not as big, you need to move more, like move your front more, meaning maybe the guy lines up on the outside of the guard, and at the snap he slants to the inside of the guard. When you're not as big, that usually helps you out a little bit. With Jordan, he can both move like that and stand still and be effective playing D-tackle, and that's a nice benefit to have, a guy that can split a double team, or when the double team comes off, be able to shed the block and make the play without having to move the front, because as you start to move the front, now things start to change behind you. Like everybody has where they're supposed to fit based on what happens on the offensive side of the ball, and everybody has their gap. And when you start moving those gaps, it starts changing the picture that the linebackers see, which then changes the picture that the safeties see, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can make things a little bit complicated. And Jordan's, certainly got the ability for us to leave it a little more stagnant if we need to.
And just real quickly, what kind of role have you crafted, or has he crafted for himself, John Tenuta?
What an awesome asset to have Coach Tenuta with us, and a guy that's been defensive coordinator, that's coached, that I've actually been on a team that he coached before. He's filling exactly the role that I've wanted to have here on the defensive side of the ball, which is somebody with some experience that has thought about things in a big picture perspective, has had to deal with the problems that come from a big picture perspective, has done it a bunch of different ways, is not afraid to speak his mind and say how you could or should do something, letting Justin ultimately make the final decision, but have that input from somebody from a perspective of experience. And he's fit right in, and done a great job with those guys on defense. And, they enjoy, and not just his input, but his company. He's got an awesome presence about him, and he's fit right in.
Thanks.
Norm.
Hey, Justin, just wondering about the progress of guys that I guess assumably started spring behind Braxton, Knox, and Connor. I was wondering if Knox maybe was entered spring maybe a little ahead of Connor only because he's had a year in the system, played, or if Connor's level of experience kind of helps him pick things up quickly and move up the depth chart a little bit in that regard.
Yeah, we entered the spring with Knox ahead of Connor, and it's stayed that way. We'll see how it goes through the rest of the spring and into fall camp, but I've been pleased with both of them. They continue to work hard to improve. Knox had a good day today, but that's kind of where it's at right now. If we trotted out there to go play tomorrow, it'd be Braxton, Knox, and Connor in that order. So we'll continue. This scrimmage will be big for both. For everybody, but Knox and Connor will get some reps in there and see how they do, so we can continue that evaluation.
Do either of those guys get? I know you try to get some experience working with first team with all those guys, but do either of those guys steal reps from Braxton at all?
No, I wouldn't term it stealing reps from Braxton, but we do try and get them some reps with the ones, and but Braxton gets the lion's share of them.
Sure. Thanks.
Mike Nizilik, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, has there been any separation in that running back battle? 11 practices in, is that looking different? And any of those younger guys, that second group, kind of moved up a little at all?
The guy that's been productive, he's just not been very consistent, is Taj. His challenge will be can he be consistent? But he's had a couple opportunities to be productive and has been. Jalen continues to improve. Raheem's been a little bit beat up here the last couple days, so hasn't gotten as much work as he normally would.
And then we were going to be talking to Alan Tisdale in a bit. What's the kind of key for him to take a step forward here this season?
Well, it's twofold. One, and I think the biggest thing is he's got balance in his life right now, between the baby and school and football. He seems to be in a routine, which you can imagine is hard to do when you're that young and you're dealing with grown-up responsibilities. He has made tremendous strides from a mental standpoint. At times he was just a little bit of an unguided missile out there. A guy that could really run, that was kind of all over the place. And this spring, it's been pretty evident that he's much more comfortable schematically with what we're asking him to do. And then the other thing is can he continue to put on some weight? And I personally think, I haven't told Alan this, but I think that comes with balance in your life, like the ability to get into a routine and continue to eat. The fourth floor certainly is not going to hurt. It certainly helps that, a guy like Alan. But, he's put on some good weight throughout this offseason, and he'll need to continue to do it through the summer. He looks much better than he did at any point last year from a physical standpoint.
And then something a little off topic from spring, but you guys have been scheduling official visits for June, I guess in anticipation of the NCAA will lift the dead period. If they change their mind, would that be sort of kind of a shock? Or what's kind of, with recruiting, do you feel like you have a pretty firm idea of kind of what it's going to look like in June?
Well, it's like a reservation, right? It's like the Seinfeld, take the reservation or hold the reservation. But, if they don't let us do it, then we just won't do it. But, we feel like we'll know on around the 15th. They're going to meet on the 15th and should let us know something. So we're just trying to be prepared in case they do that. There's 10 million rumors out there about what may or may not get passed. But if it is passed on, for us to bring people on campus in June, we'll be ready. And if not, then we'll just adjust. If there's one thing we've learned, it's you got to be ready to adjust.
But do you think it's time it opens up a little bit, or
I don't know. Like I don't really. Personally, I don't understand how they can open it up if other parts of the country are not allowed to have people on campus. I don't know how that's uniform and fair, but they may be to the point where they've had enough. I don't know. You know, like I would love to have them on campus because I think it's a huge part of why people come to school here is because of getting a feel for Virginia Tech. And so I obviously would love to have them, but I'm not going to get out and beat the drum that say it's got to happen right now. You know, I'll let the people that make those decisions, and we'll see how it can be equitable. That would be my only question is how is that going to be equitable, or are they to the point where they don't care anymore that if it's equitable or not? We just got to find a way to move forward. I don't know.
thank you.
More, Jermaine?
Well, good morning, Coach. Just wanted to ask you two questions. Number one, just your thoughts about, the construction and all the facilities that are popping up in the athletic department, because everything seems to look sharp, especially the student performance center. And then the second question, when you go into a spring practice session, what is like really the number one objective you have going into it? I'm sure it changes every year, but what's that number one objective?
Yeah, sure. No, I mean I'm thrilled with the projects we've got going on right now, or that are basically just wrapping up. We have a brand new dorm going up that we're going to play a huge role in. That'll be ready for the fall. We have a dining facility which is as good as anybody in America, and we just finished our weight room, and now we're turning our attention to our players' lounge. And when that's finished, we got to turn our attention to downstairs. So it never stops, but we should definitely take pride and say thank you to the people that gave their money to help us provide for these student athletes that work so hard. But it's exciting to see those things that are nice, that are first rate, first class. I've always said that, that it also, not only are they nice to use, but it lets people know that there are other people who they may not know that are invested in the program, that are invested in the success of our young people. As far as what we try and get done, we set out 3 goals, or 3 points of emphasis, I should say. They're not necessarily measurable goals, but 3 points of emphasis. For us to start to spring, and that's on both sides of the ball. Number one is the ball. Is we have to have a huge emphasis on how we take care of the football and how we take it away. We have not been very good at causing fumbles. We've made a huge emphasis of that. Number 2 is third down. We were unsatisfactory on both sides of the ball on third down. Part of that also is third down to fourth down, which we practiced today. You may have a chance to go for it on fourth down when you're on the plus side of the field. And then the last one was how we practice, and I talked about this earlier, is we've got to get back to who we are on the practice field, and we've taken a pretty large step forward there. Then within that, so that's the overarching 3 points of emphasis for 15 practices. And then when you break them down week by week, we segment them out based on what situationally we're trying to get done. If we're just working on first down, second down, what we're pointing to, there's usually some sort of scrimmage at the end of the week, what we're going to try to go work on in that scrimmage as we work week by week.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yep.
Wes?
Yeah, Coach, I just saw a couple pro sports teams that brought in different medical personnel to talk to their teams about the vaccination and things that they do or do not know, or things they might have read that aren't true. How have you been handling that with your guys, the vaccinations, and things are starting to open up a little bit more?
Well, I haven't touched on it yet because it hasn't gotten to our young people. I do believe that we will need to take those same steps as we approach vaccination for our young people, in terms of we will not just show up one day and say, okay, it's vaccination day. We will need to And we'll work through Doc Rogers and through Mike Goforth in terms of giving these kids and their parents information, accurate information. You can get information anywhere, accurate information to help them make the decision on if they want to participate in it or not. But we haven't gotten to it yet, but I've had discussions with Doc and Mike about when we approach that, we will need to do a good job getting in front of our kids and their parents and educating them about what this actually entails and what are the benefits of it.
And then on a lighter note, has there been any scheduling alterations to Sunday so you can watch the Masters?
No, there's no scheduling alteration. This is the greatest week of the year. We're in the middle of spring ball. The weather's beautiful. Hopefully the rain holds off. And we have the Masters in the springtime when it's supposed to be. So, I mean, for us right now as coaches, this is living life. I mean, we get to practice 3 times this week and then watch the Masters. Pretty cool.
Thank you.
I don't know how to end on a better note than that. So thank you, Coach. We've got Jordan Williams coming in.